Hey everybody, and welcome back to creating custom Pokemon based on my nephew's drawings. So before we get into, the meat of the video, the drawing that we have for today, I've got some great news that I want to share with you guys, as well as some updates. So at the end of the last video, I said I was going to make, the next video a recap, talking about what I've learned over the past couple of drawings that we've made together. But rather than make a whole video dedicated to that, I realized that I could cover a whole lot of what I wanted to discuss in that video in this video. A lot of the things I was gonna discuss had to do with the way I was going about designing the Pokemon, as well as some other Pokemon tropes that I wanted to kind of fit into my drawings. But a lot of it is covered in the drawings themselves, so I figured it'd be more interesting to just mention them as they come, and it'd also be a little bit more fluid. So I decided to do this rather than make a full dedicated recap video. I had the script and everything written, but it just wasn't very interesting to kind of watch it in that format. So the first thing that I wanted to mention, I guess specifically, that was going to be in that recap video is that the cards for Tweety, Tweetzo, and Tweetzy are complete. So first off, I wanted to say thanks to everybody for the amazing suggestions. I've been posting updates on Instagram. I posted Tweety's finished card. The other ones are finished, but I wasn't sure when to post them. So I'll probably post one of them with this video and then try to get on some sort of schedule with that, because they've all three been completed now. To be honest, I'm just not very good at social media. I'm not even gonna pretend like I am. But anyway, be sure to check those out, and you can follow me at the hashtag 3Yams, and I'll be doing that for all the completed cards from here on out. But don't expect a consistent upload schedule, similar to my YouTube channel, actually. But they'll be there eventually. The second thing is that I'm gonna start to post the time lapses of the full drawings that I make. Just in case anyone was interested in seeing the full process without the commentary. I talk a lot about what goes into the design of a Pokemon, and so a lot of the actual drawing either gets sped up to where you can't really decipher what I'm doing if you're interested in that, or I just cut back and forth a whole lot to where it's not really a cohesive process. So I'm gonna upload those, and I'll probably just use the default YouTube background music to start. But if you have suggested music, that's free, of course, that won't be copyright claimed. Not that I'm monetizing these videos, but just to avoid any sort of conflict with other creators. Post those into the comment sections of, I guess, this video or those videos. But I doubt that the music will have that much of an impact on the time lapse. But, let me know if you like those. But I'll be uploading those as well. Last but not least is the good news that I mentioned. My nephew, Kobe, actually discovered my channel. And he started watching these videos. It was really cool. His mom, my sister, texted me one day and told me that, he was watching them. And that he was enjoying them. So I thought that was really cool. I was gonna tell him, about them in a little while. But I wanted to get a couple more videos uploaded first, so that he'd have a few to watch, and I'd have a little bit more time to upload them, just because my schedule is so crazy sometimes. So I don't upload them consistently. So I didn't want him to find the channel and then want to watch a bunch of them, and then me take 4 weeks to upload another one. But lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. But I was happy to find out, that he actually liked the videos. And it's a funny story, because my dad actually posted the video on Facebook. I had no idea he did this. So that was pretty cool. Having feedback from your family is really fun, really cool. and I'm really excited that my nephew is enjoying them, and I hope that other people out there are enjoying them as well. I really enjoy making them. It just takes a little while. Also, I've gotten a little positive feedback, or a couple of, maybe I shouldn't say a little bit, but positive feedback about the name of the series. In the last video, I mentioned, a potential name, just kind of threw it out there to test the waters, and a couple of people have come back and said that they think that it's a good idea. So starting today, this series will officially be called Khobemon. Maybe I'll keep the tagline, creating custom Pokemon based on my nephew's drawings, like in the video names or descriptions, just so they're easy to find. But for all intents and purposes, the series of these videos is gonna be called Pokemon from here on out. All right, so that covers all the news and updates and stuff. So again, thanks for all the support. Now let's see some Pokemon. All right, so this is today's Pokemon. Poyatmon, I think is how you say it. I don't know how to say it. If you think you know how to say it, post it in the comments. I'm really bad at this type of stuff. I should ask Kobe. He would know. But anyway, Poyatmon, that's how I'm gonna say it, is a poison steel type, which is quite a deviation from the last few that Pokemon that we've made. But I welcome the challenge, and variety is nice. So this is pretty cool. Also, it evolves once. So we've got to keep that in mind when we're coming up with the design, that this is a first stage Pokemon. So we're gonna need somewhere to go. So, poison type Pokemon. They come in quite a few different forms. Aside from always, or at least almost always, being purple, the way they usually look, it corresponds pretty closely to what type of poison type attacks they use. Some use poison gas, others use poison powder, which is a little bit different than the gas, and some just shoot a poisonous liquid, which is kind of nasty. There's one more way that Pokemon can use poison type moves, though, one that I'm aware of at least. Maybe there's more, but it's through touch of some kind. You got Poison Fang, Poison Jab, Poison Tail, and Poison Sting, just to name a few. I'm sure there's more. So looking at this Pokemon, I noticed that there are a few little spikes on the top of his head, and they're in that trademark Poison Purple. This got me thinking that this Pokemon would use touch to, or at least most likely, use touch. He could probably learn, there's a move called Toxic, which is like a poison liquid move. Things that don't really correspond to how a Pokemon looks, but is more associated with the typing. But I think it would most likely, have an assortment of touch, poison moves to poison its foes. In particular, looking at these poison spikes, it reminded me of, there's this Pokemon passive ability called Poison Point. This ability means that, if the opposing Pokemon ever touches, this Pokemon that has poison points, which is like these poison quills or spikes all over its body, then it gets poisoned. I think maybe porcupines have a similar attribute. I don't know if they actually have poison on the end of their quills. That would be pretty cool, though. I know they can shoot them, but I don't know about the poison. But anyway, that's effectively how they work. Poyatmon's other type is Steel. I was surprised to find out that Pokemon that are Steel types a lot of times don't have much steel on their bodies. Like some of them are obviously, made of metal, while the others, rely more on their descriptions to convince you that they're steel types, like with the moves that they use and things like that. You know, like here's an example. There's Diglett and Dugtrio. You know, they used to be just ground types, right? But then they have, you know, this new version of Pokemon where a couple of different ones, they get these, they're called Alolan forms. So, you know, Diglett, obviously, when he's Alolan, grows this nice blonde hair. And then, well, it's a few little, you know, it's just a few hairs, you know, when it's a Diglett. But it's like nice blonde locks when it turns into a Dugtrio. But anyway, we're supposed to just, you know, buy in to the fact that this, you know, newly found luxurious blonde hair is actually steel fibers. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm not really buying that. No. Anyway, taking all this into account, I started sketching up some designs for Khobemon. Kobe's drawing has, you know, a relatively simple body shape with that purple head being the main point of interest. My initial drawings were, you know, kind of a study of the different shapes in Kobe's drawing. I was trying to determine if these shapes were arms or some other sort of appendage. Eventually, I moved on to trying, you know, a more standard body, and this one had, you know, steel arms. It looked pretty typical. This design, you know, it really wasn't working well. It looked a bit too generic. My last drawing was a total deviation from, you know, everything I've done so far in order to, you know, kind of spark an idea in my mind and come up with something completely new. It hardly worked. So at this point, I decided to consult Mrs. Yams. I just wanted to take a moment here to recognize the contributions of Mrs. Yams throughout this series. She gave me the feedback on the previous designs, but for this Pokemon, as well as the upcoming ones, she has decided to come up with drawings of her own. So expect to see those in upcoming videos. I'm going to show you one here in a second, but I just wanted to let you know that this will be a reoccurring thing. Anyway, so she took Kobe's original drawing, she hadn't seen mine, and went away for a little bit and came back with this. This is what she came up with. A creature with pig-like hooves and a swirly tail. And just like me, she noticed that, you know, the head spikes were, you know, a pretty defining characteristic as well. You know, it's funny that my last drawing and her first one both have, you know, these swirly, I guess, squirrel-like tails. So, after comparing our drawings, we worked together to create a final sketch.
Who's that Pokemon?
Once we decided on a final sketch, I brought it into Photoshop. I started off using the red brush in order to give myself, you know, some freedom to move things around. Using red initially, you know, it seems less permanent to me. So that's what I like to use to allow myself, you know, just to kind of not really think that the lines I'm putting down are final or anything. And I also made, you know, the red brush a little bit thicker than the brush that I'm using for the final lines. So it enables me to be a little bit less precise. You know, I can go back and erase later, but I can draw a couple of lines, you know, to get the right shape, and then I can erase to make, you know, either a curve or a straight line that I really want, that I wasn't able to, you know, get on my first go around. I really like being able to work in a way that, you know, lets me make last minute decisions about the design, because then I can kind of push it a little bit further. So after I was done with that initial trace over, the brush I use, you know, for the final line work, like I said, you know, is much thinner. The thin brush, really makes the drawing look like it was done with a traditional, pen and piece of paper. And that's really the effect that I'm going for. The previous drawings I made, they had, I was using a brush that was about 2 pixels thicker, I guess, when it comes to the lines. And I also had a lot more variation in the line weight. I thought it looked fine, but it wasn't necessarily the effect that I was going for. Honestly, once I paint over, or behind the lines rather, it's hardly noticeable. But I think it's something that you feel about the drawing rather than something that you see. So when it came down to color, I wanted to make sure that I didn't choose anything too dark. I pulled a few colors from Kobe's drawing and came up with a few colors of my own too. Poison type Pokemon almost always have purple as part of their design, and steel type Pokemon usually have, silver or white in theirs. So I needed to come up with a way to include all of these colors together in a way that, made sense. Okay, so here's Khobemon, the poison steel type Pokemon. The final design came out kind of like at least to me, a pig skunk type creature, with those poison points on his head. And I tried something a little bit different for Khobemon card design. For this card, I decided to make it more natural and scenic, I guess. Make a whole scene with landscape, sort of, rather than, that bland kind of, typical background, just to give it a little bit more vibrancy and character. Rather than, having the Pokemon front and center, I wanted the card to show some of the Pokemon's, personality, and maybe where it would live, where you would find it in the wild, as well as have more, just a generally, more interesting picture to look at on the card. Like I talked about, and we noticed in actual Pokemon cards, sometimes the art styles, they vary pretty greatly from card to card, and even from, the official Pokemon artwork. And so I was taking this into account, when I was making this card. And I think this approach will make the final collection of all the Khobemon cards that much more interesting. One thing that I noticed that I'd never noticed before is that some types of Pokemon share card designs. Like the way the card looks, not the actual images of the card, but like the outer colors of the card. So in this case, it never occurred to me that poison type Pokemon don't have a card of their own. Maybe they do now. I've been looking at some newer cards, and they seem to be introducing, these new types slowly but surely. But I think, it breaks how the collectible card game works to introduce too many things like this. But for the most part, poison and psychic type and grass type Pokemon, they can share, the same cards. So I was looking at, poison type Pokemon cards, and I noticed that Grimer and Muck, they can either have a card that has the psychic or the grass Pokemon card design. I'm not sure what determines which card was either, a psychic or a grass type, even though, it's actually a poison type. So I'm not sure why they made this choice. But for this one, I've decided to go with the psychic card because I see that one used a little bit more frequently in the little research that I did. Most of the poison type Pokemon used the psychic type card. And I think this works the best too because it's purple, just like the association that we make with poison types. Okay, so that takes care of the design and this design of the card. So now this is the part where I need your help. Khobemon Pokemon card needs an HP and some battle moves. Be sure to put your suggestions in the comments below. The selected comments will be featured in an upcoming Instagram post, along with the completed card. Alright, so now that all of that's out of the way, let's see if Khobemon meets the challenge criteria. Number 1, strong silhouette. I think the silhouette is pretty interesting. I think it works well with the pose that I drew him in, just because you can see the head spikes, as well as, that unique hand shape, and then the large tail coming out of the back, and both feet. Kind of a lot of the information is kind of shown through the silhouette, so I think it works okay. Number 2, clear defining feature. So the clear defining feature to me, I think it would have to be the head spikes. The tail, I think it's a runner-up. It's large, but it feels more like a secondary attribute. I don't think it demands quite as much attention in the same way that the head spikes do. I feel like they're a little bit more prominent, and just having the head overall, a brighter color than the rest of the body, it kind of just draws your attention to look there. Number 3, a maximum of 3 colors. I think that this Pokemon meets the 3 color standard. The majority of its body, is black and pinkish purple. There's variations of each of these colors. Kind of gray is kind of a variation of black, and then they have the lighter pinks and purples, and then there's the darker purple for the eyes and those ovals on the cheeks. But overall, it's just those 3 colors. So I think it fits in pretty well. And number 4 is it's simple to draw. So take a moment for yourself and draw Khobemon, and let me know if you find it easy or hard to draw. Alright, so that about wraps up this video. Did Khobemon turn out how you expected? Did you have different ideas? I think we should have a conversation about it in the comments. And if you'd like to share your own drawings of this or other Pokemon, or if you come up with custom Pokemon of your own, be sure to post it on Instagram with the hashtag 3YamsPokemon. I would love to see what you come up with. And last but not least, like the video, share it, and subscribe to see the next one.